Good morning and welcome back to Coffee and Headlines, our daily get-together live here on Facebook at 10:30 every single day of the week, where we get together and examine the latest headlines, news, topics, questions, ideas, and suggestions we share so that we can have an awesome life here in Puerto Vallarta as a community of English-speaking locals. It is always a pleasure to get together with you on a daily basis, and it is always a pleasure to welcome new friends to our broadcast. So if you're new, my name is Paco, and we'd love to find out who you are and where you're watching. So if you're new, feel free to write the word new in your comment, and we'll be so very happy to give you a proper welcome. And if you have important questions, please feel free to add the letter Q to your questions so that we can get to them during the broadcast. If not, we will try our best to get to them immediately thereafter. As always, let's check in and see who is in the house. Let's see. El Centro is in the house. Good morning, Jill. Boston is in the house. Good morning, David. Kelly, you must be ready to pack your bags, I imagine. Let's see. Tabachines is in the house. Good morning, Stephanie. It's great to see you. Boom, bam, boom, boom, boom. We have the first question. Jill says, any update in the news about private companies buying the vaccine here in Mexico? The usual Facebook rumor mill has started. I will tell you, Jill, that this was just announced a couple of days ago, so I don't suspect that there are going to be a lot of news from private companies just yet. I can tell you that the Alianza Federalista of Governors that have gathered together to work together for the benefit of the states, and of course we know that our governor Enrique Alfaro is part of this Alianza Federalista or Federal Alliance, has kindly said to the president, okay, so you're letting us buy vaccines. Please put it in writing. Another news item that I read about this somewhere along the lines is that even if states were able or private companies were able to purchase their own vaccines, they would probably have to wait until the end of this year because of the high demand that vaccine manufacturing companies have as it is. So that is what we know. Let me ask you, Jill, if the usual Facebook rumor mill has started, why are you paying attention to it? I'm just curious. Let me take a quick look at who else is here. Freshly made hot chocolate, says Dale. That sounds delightful. Thank you very much for sharing. Is the city still in lockdown, Mark? That is not a question, Joe, but if this is related to Puerto Vallarta? Because if it is related to Puerto Vallarta, we are not in lockdown. We're just going through some restrictions. Let's see who else is here. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba-bum. Emiliano Zapata's in the house. Thank you for joining us, Betsy Ann. Um, Dina has just moved and is still waiting for internet. I am so glad that you're with us. Um, Somebody, Claude, our dear friend Claude is saying hello to Luna's butt, saying "Hola, Luna culo." There you go, Luna. This is what you get for facing the house and not the camera. Let's see. Okay, so here we are. We have all kinds of news to share with you today. We have headlines and we have some interesting comments about upcoming performances. So we might as well get started with the news. He was kind and respectful, said Andrés Manuel López Obrador, president of Mexico, about Joe Biden after their first telephone conversation, which took place yesterday. Here we see President Andrés Manuel López Obrador with Marcelo Ebrard, who's the Chancellor of Mexico, and other people. And they had a conversation with President Joe Biden from the United States, and they discussed topics that are related with immigration, the COVID pandemic, and overall cooperation for the development and well-being of both countries. In his Twitter account, President López Obrador assured that everything seems to indicate that the relationship between Mexico and the United States will be prosperous. Let's see what else we have. In case you were around the Marina Vallarta, or rather the maritime terminal yesterday, and you saw an unusual amount of police force and activity, this is because the state's attorney and the Marine and the National Guard received a tip of some activity going on at this notorious building called Deck 12 that is related to the murder of former Jalisco Governor Aristoteles Sandoval. So apparently a search warrant was obtained and an apartment was put off limits by investigators who continue to try to find traces of and leads to this unfortunate and horrible murder case that took place here in Puerto Vallarta a few weeks ago. We also noticed that Unibus, which is the local company, the local bus company, the company, of course, we know came to Puerto Vallarta a few years ago and promised energy efficient buses with air conditioning and so forth and so on. And needless to say, they have failed in their delivery, even from before the pandemic started. They were present in a press conference where they say that they have suffered tremendous losses during the pandemic and that they still owe Puerto Vallarta getting involved with getting offered better services. They say we continue to work to improve the service, and we must mention that we haven't stopped trying to provide the best possible service we can. Of course, we know that the company has been challenged with lack of fuel. They use natural gas as fuel instead of regular car gasoline. They've also struggled with drivers not enforcing mask laws and so forth and so on. So it is good to know that the company acknowledges that they still have their work cut out for them. Hopefully they will continue to do this work. Moving on with our news, we see that as it happens on Fridays every week, the COVID map for the country has been updated, and 10 states continue to be in the red, including the state of Jalisco. The states that are now in the red are Mexico City, Coahuila, Estado de Mexico, Guanajuato, Hidalgo, Jalisco, Morelos, Nuevo León, Querétaro, and Tlaxcala. And if you look at the map, you may notice an interesting trend, which was mentioned by Governor Enrique Alfaro not too long ago. Let me see if I can get rid of, there it goes. I'm trying to get rid of that horrible ad that just appeared in front of my photo. Boom, bye-bye. If you noticed, it is quite interesting to see that it is all these states that are connected in the middle of Mexico that are in the red, and also these two states in the north um, that would be the state of Nuevo León and the state of Coahuila. Why is it that those particular states are in the red? Well, I can tell you that for the states that are located in the center of Mexico, let me show them to you again. This is, of course, there is Jalisco, and there are all these other states, and this is where a large majority of industry takes place here in our country. So it is quite evident that in states where there's a lot more mobility, of course, of manufactured goods being moved through this particular belt of states, it is understandable to see that there would be an increase of cases in this particular section of the country. But the bottom line, as we know, is these are the indicators provided by the federal government, and we know that our state, the state of Jalisco, has its own system, and we know, of course, that our governor delivers his updates on Sunday afternoons. Let me take a quick look at your comments so far before we dive into another topic, which is some good news that I wish to share with you. Paul, thank you for sharing information about the COVID tests that are taking place at the hotel. Oh, and thank you for clarifying that, Joe. Thank you very much. Yes, we, of course, know things are very different in Washington, D.C. than in Puerto Vallarta. I heard that at the Malecon, police were asking people to wear the masks. Hopefully that is true, because it is important. Let's see what else we have. My blinds are open. Will Zoe Lewis be visiting to sing to us today? Now, wouldn't that be fun? Wouldn't that be fun if Zoe Lewis would just show up on our window and started singing? The answer to that, of course, Sean, is she's not popping into our window, but she has given us information about a performance she's going to have tomorrow, and I'll be so very happy to share that with you. Thank you very much, Judith. When I said the rumor mill, I didn't mean that it was not being mentioned in other news outlets. It's good to see that this is being mentioned in other news outlets. However, because these provisions were only announced a couple of days ago, it is very premature to expect that anybody has specific details about this as yet. Let's see what else we have. It is Paco, what does oh my goodness, this is a very important question. AMLO, and my apologies if I don't mention this often enough, are the initials of the president of Mexico, Andrés Manuel López Obrador. And I'm sorry if we refer to him as AMLO frequently. I assume that because we are all locals, we are in touch with basic political concepts from Mexico, but I will be happy to remind you frequently that AMLO are the initials of our president. No problem. Tomorrow, Sunday Fun Day, absolutely. We still don't know what we're going to do, but that is not surprising. Let me continue with the news because I have a bit of awesome news. This might be difficult for some to appreciate, but there are some neighborhoods in Puerto Vallarta, our city, the friendliest city in the world. There are some neighborhoods in Puerto Vallarta that don't have electricity. And I was so very happy to read this morning that our mayor, Arturo Dávalos, announced that electricity is now being provided in certain neighborhoods in Puerto Vallarta where people have been living without electricity. Imagine that during the summer months when it gets so warm. And a budget has been approved, a little bit over 2 million pesos for the construction of an electrical network in Colonias El Magisterio and in Palmas de Arriba and Palmitas de Cacao. These are three neighborhoods in Puerto Vallarta. So it is so good. It is so good to see that more people in our city are now going to be able to enjoy pretty basic services that are easy for the rest of us to take for granted. In other bit of news, and this is COVID related, there have been initially some preliminary studies about whether it is safe to take one brand of vaccine and then take the follow-up second dose of a different brand. This has come up because of certain shortages of vaccine that have happened in different parts of the world. And of course, this is something that some experts have weighted in this news item that I picked up from Yahoo News. Is it safe to mix and match COVID vaccines after your first dose? And I'm going to leave this for you to read. Needless to say, we are not quite ready here in Puerto Vallarta to be thinking about vaccines because they're still only being distributed among medical personnel. But in a couple of months, we will have to be taking this into account. So I'm going to leave this here in case you want to start reading about it just now. And in other news, we also mentioned a few days ago this business of protesters taking over toll booths in the highways of Mexico and having arrived in the state of Jalisco. What this is about is people that take over the toll booths, arguing that this is an organized group, arguing that since the highway is already built, why should they be collecting money? So they stop the collectors from being able to collect money. And as you drive by, they say, well, look, we've saved you some money, now give us a tip. Well, this is quite lovely, but that's not the way the world works. You know, highways need maintenance and upkeep, and that is the reason why we continue to pay tolls. Well, we announced a couple of days ago, or maybe it was last week, that this organized group has arrived in the state of Jalisco, and Governor Enrique Alfaro published in his Facebook account, and I'm going to translate, today, again, a busload of people, violent people from other states, very well organized and armed with sticks and pipes and fireworks and even Molotov bombs, came to Jalisco to supposedly liberate toll booths and ask for money in exchange. They injured those that worked in the toll booths, and when the personnel from security from the state of Jalisco arrived, they did not accept dialogue as an option and even attempted to light fire and to run over some elements of security. Just as I say it. If in Jalisco we don't have this kind of violence or provocation, why are people from other states coming to our state? To liberate the toll booths from what? In Jalisco, we respect the freedom of expression, but we also value the state of liberty and rights. There are several people that have been detained, and we're looking to enforce the work that, in coordination with the National Guard, which is the entity that is in charge of federal highways and their toll booths. We are not going to tolerate this type of violent act, and we're not going to allow it to continue to risk the lives of thousands of people from our state. And here are some very varied images of these toll booth collectors as they take over the highway. Not a pretty scene if you see it. And again, as I mentioned the other day, if you happen to find yourself driving through the highway, you have no reason to be alarmed. just continue on your trip, and you feel so inclined, feel free to give these gentlemen or women, I don't know who they are, these people a small tip, but you are under no obligation to do so. Let me take a quick look at some of your comments and questions to see if there's anything we can clarify. Paula asks, are most of the restaurants open but just operating at a lower capacity? And the answer to that is yes. I believe restaurants are allowed to operate at 50% capacity right now. Uh, Kate says, I thought Davalos was taken away from his duties as mayor. You are correct in that assumption. He announced that he would step down from his charge so that he could pursue a political next step as a deputy for our state. However, he had a change of heart the same day in which he was supposed to leave his post. He announced, nope, I am not running. I am staying as a mayor. So he is still here with us as such. Mark asks, do we have any idea when the over 60 restriction from Costco, etc., will be lifted? The current restrictions, Mark, are scheduled to be to take place until the last day of January. So starting on February 1st, everything should be lifted. The only situation in which that would not happen is if come that date, the health experts for our state would decide they wish to extend the period, but that has not happened in the past traditionally. Because COVID-19 takes 15 days to go through its cycle of contagion, usually what the researchers have done is they implement these measures and then they wait 2 weeks to see if the numbers have changed favorably, hopefully, or not. And it is based on that they decide on the next course of action. So everything seems to indicate that it will be on February 1st that people over 60 will be able to return to supermarkets such as Costco and other places where they are not being allowed. Please remember that this is a restriction imposed by the government for the health and well-being of everyone. I know that it is inconvenient for some, but also keep in mind that there are some wonderful smaller stores and convenience stores and neighborhood shops where you can find a lot of things. And, it's over in a matter of a week. Let's see. Boom, ba-dim, bum, 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 ba. Carol has a good question. This was actually not happening in the Puerto Vallarta to Guadalajara toll booths. This was happening elsewhere in the state. But again, what the governor is trying to do, as I see it, is rather than not being proactive about this, he's just trying to, what is the expression? Luna, is it nip in the bud? Is that what it is? Luna is not answering because she's busy doing some body washing or something. But I think it's nip in the bud. The governor is trying to nip this behavior in the bud so that these toll booth manifestadores, these people, these protesters, don't start spreading around the state. We came across a toll operated by locals and paid the amount 50 pesos and kept on driving. Well, chances are, Tom, that they were not locals. They were part of a group of one kind or another. Locals are not expected to operate toll booths. I mean, people usually operate toll booths wearing a uniform, but I'm glad it's not something that that cost alarm on your behalf. Let's see. Thank you for the nip in the bud remarks. I always appreciate when you help me remember my expressions. Sherry reports that she's been buying produce and tortillas from small farmer markets and shops on all the side streets. You get to meet some very fascinating people that way, and you get to see a little bit more of the way Mexico used to shop before big supermarkets came in. Paul asks, does paying the tip to toll people encourage lawless behavior, or is it reasonable when the rule of law is not working for these folks in the first place? I don't have an answer for that, Paul, and because I am not a toll person and I don't represent the toll police or the Federal Protection Agency that runs the tolls, so I really don't have a good answer for you. Lawless behavior takes place in all kinds of places, and the reason why it happens is probably the topic of conversations of knowledgeable sociologists, not a humble news sharer like myself. Luna does say, "Don't bother me. I am taking my bath." And she is indeed. Thank you very much, Luna. Just don't get to your privates because, oh, well, you can get to your privates because we are now moving into the leisurely section of the broadcast. And today is a gorgeous day to die, says our snarky carrot weather. It is 25 degrees Celsius, feels like 27. It is 78 degrees Fahrenheit, and humidity is low, 47%. What a great day to go out for a walk. And of course, we know that the weather forecast for today is clear through the day with a high temperature of 28, low temperature of 18. Sunday, tomorrow, is going to be partly cloudy through the day, high temperature of 27, low temperature of 17. Monday will be partly cloudy through the day as well. 26 is the high temperature, 16 is the low temperature. And let me see. Paul comments, food for thought only. There's no right answer. Unfortunately, Paul, you are correct. This business of the toll booth people reminds me of something that is quite common in large cities in Mexico and is becoming increasingly common in Puerto Vallarta. And that is the whole flurry of performers, jugglers, windshield washers, and so forth and so on, that make a living working at intersections in large cities. And, the traffic light goes red and people start juggling, so forth and so on. And then they expect you to give them a tip. And usually they are very peaceful, but in large cities, there have been incidents in which, if somebody, first of all, for example, the window washers, they don't ask. They simply start squirting your car because they assume once they've started, you're not going to say no. And if you're a good Christian, you are going to give them a tip. Well, in some instances, if they've started and you tell them stop and you honk your horn because they're not stopping, they get violent. And this is, there are several ways in which you can look at this. You can look at this as, okay, these are people that are desperate to find jobs and do this, that, and the other. But the flip side of that is you can look at it and if they're not stopped, how can they be ordered? These people don't pay taxes. These people just have informal jobs and so forth and so on. And I remember when performers started arriving in Puerto Vallarta's intersections a number of years ago, there were a lot of rumblings from local society and law people and just this population at large. It's like, why do we have this here? And now they are everywhere. So having healthy conversations or good answers as to what happens when people that break the law out of need can be justified or not. I mean, these are very important topics that I wish we could actually have a conversation about. But unfortunately, Coffee and Headlines is not set up for that. So let me just continue on with our leisurely news. Sad news for the movie industry in Mexico. They claim that they have suffered losses of 96%. The National Chamber of the Cinematographic Industry have affirmed that there are scientific studies that guarantee that movies are not risky places to be, movie theaters. And they are asking the government to allow movie theaters to open again because, and they sent an open letter to the world and to the authorities and so forth and so on, whether the movie theaters are a place where you can catch the coronavirus or not is not something we can really discuss in detail here. The bottom line is that it is unfortunate that the film industry, along with other industries, the performing arts, entertainment, are suffering horribly from these guidelines. And yes, guaranteed. Wow, that's what I thought, Kathleen. Um, it is a big statement, and of course we know that is not true. But again, I don't chastise these people for making that statement. I mean, they are as desperate as anybody would be to be able to make a living and to continue to do what they've done. But of course, the bottom line has always been whether we choose to go or not. I actually have been going to the movies, or had been going to the movies, before this latest period of containment here in the state of Jalisco. And I look forward to going back to the movies, knowing that, for example, at the Cinepolis VIP, very few people go. There are no people in there. And I know that I'm taking a small risk by going, but I have felt fine by going. But I by no means feel comforted by somebody saying to me, you are 100% guaranteed that you're not going to have, that you're not going to catch COVID at a movie theater. And nobody, in my humble opinion, should believe that, because there are no guarantees. In another news item, there has been this crocodile, yes, a crocodile that has been swimming in right next to the Mega Comercial, or the Mega Comercial Mexicana on the hotel zone that is now called Soriana, right on the main avenue. There's a canal, a water canal right behind it. There is this crocodile, they call him Charlie, who has been swimming there, or had been swimming there, that he finally was captured, and he was transferred over to the Ameca River, where he is going to be in a better place for him, and he's not going to scare people as they wander by. This, if you look at this photograph, for example, you can appreciate that we are in the back of the Mega Comercial. And of course, the crocodile has been taken elsewhere. Let me take a quick look at your comments before I give you two final headlines that are actually very, very good news. Let's see what we have. Boom, ba bum, 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 bum. The small shop owners are warm and friendly people. I totally agree with you. Are you still bathing, Luna? Do you guys want to see Luna bathe? Sure, why not? Let's see. Oh, Rita mentions California Megabastos in Fluvial. I've been meaning to stop by this store. This is a produce shop that is located right next to or behind La Comer here in Fluvial. And it is a great place to buy produce, and you probably have taken it for granted, but it is such a great place that I actually am thinking I will go there with my camera and take some video, because for those people that have been a little bit concerned that they're not getting their fresh veggies and produce from La Comer, just around the corner, there is a perfect place to shop. And according to Rita, they play the best music. She calls it a fringe benefit. I love it. Arturo Guerrero is in the house. It's good to see you, Arturo. And yes, there are street entertainers on Los Tules in Fluvial near Costco. And again, that's a good thing and a not so good thing. Before you know it, Stephanie, there's dozens of them. And before you know it, it seems unkind for the police to remove them and encourage them to find other jobs, because, one way or another, if they're stopping where they're stopping, they put in themselves at risk. Bob loves the street performers. At least they're doing something to earn a tip. And again, it's a complicated thing, Bob. There are things to love and there are things to be concerned about. It is a complicated issue, but the fundamental thing is you are right. At least they are doing something to try to make a decent living. Let's see. Paul comments on going to the movies. Sitting block for spacing. Yes, I felt fine with it, but I can't imagine they can make money that way. You're absolutely correct, and that seems to be one of those things that happens. and that we won't be able to have a good solution for a while. I want to acknowledge Larry King's passing, particularly because of the QEPD initials, because Rita asked. QEPD in Spanish are the initials for Que en paz descanse. Que en paz descanse means may he rest in peace. So it is quite usual to see these initials written in obituaries, QEPD. Let's see what else we have. Thank you, Logan, for that. Yes. Carly is new. Welcome to Coffee and Headlines. I will send you a link, Carly, with all kinds of information that you didn't know you needed. And it's essentially the frequently asked questions about our little get-togethers in case you want to know more about how this project came about and how it is that we have such a good time. Most of the time here, every now and then, we ruffle feathers and feathers get ruffled and we disagree, but that's just the nature of a nice, healthy exchange, I think. Let me wrap things up with two good news from performers, as I mentioned yesterday. Oh, yes, everybody, welcome Carly. Yes, thank you very much. I love it. We have headlines from Zoe Lewis. Our wonderful friend Zoe Lewis is back at it with her social distancers. They are traveling. The girls are now in Florida. I don't know why. I don't know how long they're going to be there, but they're traveling with their troupe, and they're going to be broadcasting another one of those wonderful live performances. I don't know if they're going to have a window like they do in Provincetown, but they have promised that they're going to be online. I'm going to share with you the link for this performance, and so that you can enjoy it as well. Wendy says, "Hola, I've been listening but not sure I'm official." You are official, whether you are saying hello or not. Wendy, welcome to the fold, and it is great to see you here. The other news that I wanted to share is I had a wonderful conversation with Kim Kuzma yesterday, who has been, of course, feeling some pressure, like many performers that are still performing in restaurants. As we've mentioned, during this period of restriction, the government has been very, very clear in saying no entertainment. And yet there have been restaurants that, because they're restaurants and they're allowed to be open, they are entertaining. So whether this is legally correct or morally correct is a matter of opinion. But in the performers community, some performers that have continued to be able to perform while others are struggling because their venues are closed have been frowned upon. So Kim Kuzma, who has been performing at Coco's Kitchen, decided to come up with an optimal solution. She and her musicians went on and pre-recorded a performance yesterday at Coco's Kitchen. Instead of doing it live, they went ahead and pre-recorded it and decided we are going to release the performance at the time in which we would have been performing live. In this way, number one, we get to perform. Number two, we get to make some money. Number three, we get to entertain. And number four, and perhaps most important, we are doing this in appreciation and solidarity of friends of ours who are not able to perform at venues right now because venues are closed. So it is so wonderful that Kim is doing this. We had a lovely conversation about this. She says it is simply too early in the day to do a live feed while they're closed during a 2-hour window. This is because they recorded their performance in the morning. And then she goes and says, "We'd love you to watch, and I'll be commenting during the show and answering any questions," which is essentially the format that we have here at Coffee and Headlines. And then she goes on to say, "This time is a challenge for many, many people. We hope this puts a smile on your face. Play it on your iPad, TV, and turn it up loud. And if you don't already know, these men are extremely talented and so damn good at what they do. Feel free to share with friends, especially if not coming to PV this winter. Many thanks to Vanessa and Coco for allowing us to record there rather than playing live, all doing our part. But be sure to go to Coco's Kitchen /The Grill at CK for breakfast and lunch, or for dinner, for they're open for dining until 10 p.m. So it seems to be a good compromise for all involved. So that is the last bit of news that I have for you. Let me take a quick look at who is at the final comments that you may have. Let's see. Sean says, "Yay, Zoe and the social distancers. I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan." Are you putting on a big show, Luna? I think Luna has finished doing her maneuvers, so so uh, she's there. She's just watching. It's either legal or it's not. Oh, I totally agree with you, Catherine. And the legal or the legality of restaurants offering live entertainment is that they're not supposed to, not in the state of Jalisco. Um, that's it is what it is. And again, we can choose to fret or frown and bitch and moan and bicker and discuss the restaurants that are doing it or not doing it, or we can choose to simply not go if we don't feel safe. And to me, that is a more important, wiser choice. Let's see what else we have. Wendy is being trolled. See, Wendy, that's what you get for joining the conversation. I love it. New Salam says, new exclamation mark. Do you by chance know the reason for banning seniors from shopping at Costco and Walmart? Yes, I do. And let me share the answer with you. Number one, the government of our state has deemed that citizens 60 years or older are at higher risk from contracting coronavirus and suffering the more dangerous, if not fatal, symptoms of the disease, number one. Number two, based on that, the government of our state has requested that senior citizens over 60 remain at home. And number three, the most important, the government of our state has asked supermarkets to forbid senior citizens from entering the supermarket or face the consequences. So the supermarkets are caught between a rock and a hard place. Are the supermarkets bound to receive an inspection from the government and be closed down? Probably not. But if I was Walmart, I would not want to take that chance because several businesses in other parts of the state have been closed down and they have suffered financial punishment, fees or punishment or whatever you want to call it. Some businesses have been shut down for not following the guidelines, and I'm sure that the supermarkets don't want to do that. This will go on until the end of the month. Meanwhile, Salam, citizens that are 60 years or older can shop at local stores, can have their groceries delivered, or can ask for the kindness of a friend to go into the store and shop for them. And that's the answer. Let's see what else. There are degrees of illegality in Mexico. Sean, I think there are degrees of illegality everywhere we go. It is the nature of the beast. Let's see what else we have. Wait till you see the initiation ritual. Nothing of the sort. I know that there are a lot of people that are part of the silent majority that don't. Where are you going, Luna? Stay put. Oh, there she goes. There are a lot of people that are part of the silent majority that join us on a daily basis, and you are as important because if you're here, you must be finding something useful, and we are grateful for that. That said, you are always more than welcome to chime in with your comments, your thoughts, your suggestions, the things that you're curious about, and so forth and so on. You're quite welcome, Salam. I know that it is a complicated situation. I know that it has ruffled and continues to ruffle a lot of feathers, but we need to either choose to accept the guidelines provided by our government, or we can choose to be in a place where other types of guidelines are proposed and maintained. Karen asks, is there a membership map Just wondering where everyone tunes in from. Oh, I see a membership map. We don't have a membership map, Karen, but it is always nice to hear people when they say good morning. They say the city where they're chiming in from. But this could be fun. There are applications out there where you can embed a map somewhere, and you can say, "Well, I'm watching from here, there, and everywhere." Let me see if I can throw something like that together and put it on the website, and I'll be happy to go there because I'm sometimes curious as to where people are watching from. And that's all we have for today. I want to thank the 142 of you that are still with us in this morning's broadcast. Tomorrow is Sunday, of course. Tomorrow is, for those of you that are new, there are no news on Sunday, at least no bad news on Sunday. Sunday is Sunday Fun Day here at Coffee and Headlines. And what we do is we act as juvenile and silly as we possibly can. Nothing is sacred. No one is safe during Sunday Fun Day. In fact, we love being slightly irreverent. So if you come back tomorrow, you will find a very, very different type of broadcast. And I'm already looking at a few interesting headlines for tomorrow. Not sure just quite yet what's going to happen, but that is usually the case for Sundays. Between today and tomorrow, or between today and the next time that we get together, I hope you'll stay kind. I hope you'll stay happy. You'll stay optimistic through these very challenging times. And you continue to find ways to connect with our city. Every time I get out of the house, which is not very frequent these days, I meet someone or see something or somebody recognizes me or I run into an old friend. There's always something wonderful going on if we allow ourselves to look for it and appreciate it. I certainly hope you will, and I certainly hope I will see you again sometime soon. Have a great day.